Stugotz here. The Dan Le Batard Show podcast is brought to you by Capital One. Capital One wants to build a better bank, one that feels and acts nothing like a typical bank. It's why they're reimagining banking by offering accounts with no fees or minimums and one of the best saving rates in America. You could open a Capital One account from anywhere in 5 minutes. That's banking reimagined. Capital One, what's in your wallet? Capital One, N.A.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
This is the best of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
This just happened. This happens around here a lot. Mike Ryan shouted in one room that Patino's on the offensive, a vampire's on the loose. Daytime hours in New York, making the media rounds, doing so aggressively. And as he's doing this, Stugotz is yelling at his computer, "Give me Djokovic Nadal Sunday. I dare you. I won't watch football." And then he there's a pause, and he's like, "I'm lying. I will watch football."
Yep.
And it was a conversation he was totally having with himself. It's not a conversation he was having. He was daring tennis to give him Djokovic and Nadal. He said, "I dare you. I won't watch football. Actually, I'm a liar."
Yep, I'm admitting my lies right after they come out of my mouth now. It's a new thing for me. But here's what I will do, because we're all waiting around for Nadal and Djokovic. That's the match everyone wants to see on Sunday, U.S. Open Final. What I will do is I will split the screen and the volume, this is big, right? The volume will be on Djokovic and Nadal. How about that? The volume.
All right, so Stugotz was also shouting at various points for reasons I don't really understand. Nadal's left arm, Dan. Nadal's left arm. Now, I know that that's a mutated arm. If you look at pictures of Nadal's left arm versus his right arm, one of them is that of the Incredible Hulk. The other is just a normal man's bronze arm. He's got a thigh for an arm. And Stugotz was saying that Nadal's left arm belongs in the Body Part Hall of Fame in sports. Would it go there above a pitcher? Like, if you got to go left arm, you're putting it ahead of Steve Carlton or Sandy Koufax.
There is no left arm that is going into that Body Part Hall of Fame before Rafael Nadal's. Not a single one. There's an arm division, like an arm room in this Body Part Hall of Fame, and it's named after Rafael Nadal. That's it.
Why don't baseball pitchers do what Nadal does? Why don't we see baseball pitchers with, like, much stronger arms than their weak arm? Get on that, pitchers.
I love that question posed to Stugotz, and Stugotz on the radio shrugs both of his shoulders. Doesn't give you anything in the way of audio. You really stumped him with the question. Nadal, go ahead and Google it. It's funny, but what else are we putting in the Body Part Hall of Fame? Where else are we going here? Stugotz was already putting Saquon Barkley's thighs in the Body Part Hall of Fame.
I got his thighs in the Hall of Fame. I have Brian Baldinger's finger in the Body Part Hall of Fame.
Yeah, those thighs are attached to Larry Fitzgerald's butt.
Is there only one finger allowed? Like, if you got to take Ronnie Lott, you got to take Ronnie Lott before you take Baldinger, right? Or is it one finger allowed only?
Well, this is interesting what you're doing, because the Pro Football Hall of Fame has many linebackers, many quarterbacks, many offensive tackles. You just want one for each.
No,
because I'm good with that. It's a more interesting Hall of Fame.
It's your Hall of Fame. I'm asking.
How about Kawhi's?
It's our Hall of Fame.
How about Kawhi's hands, but attached to one of his hands is Brian Baldinger's finger?
Yeah, right.
Why Kawhi's hands?
The most famous hands in basketball.
Because
That's
they're
why.
just big?
They're
Because
gigantic. His logo is his hands.
But you'd need Mutombo's, pointer finger.
Oh,
All right,
Mutombo's
so
finger.
All right.
Wow, who's the finger then? I guess if you're going to put them all in, that's fine. But Mutombo's finger, Ronnie Lott's finger, Baldinger's finger.
Stone Cold Steve Austin's middle finger.
Yes. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I like what you guys are doing here, where we just narrow it down to one. I think we all agree tongue is Michael Jordan, right?
Yeah.
That's it. Tongue is Michael Jordan. He owns that.
It's
That's
just
it, right?
sports,
Yeah.
because if it's tongue anywhere, you'd go with Gene Simmons, I think.
Yeah, but it's just sports, because this is an athletic. We're trying to build the perfect athlete. I'm going to go Floyd Mayweather's shoulder.
What? Just because of how he plays defense with it?
The shoulder roll, man.
taking his shoulder. It does not belong in the Body Part Hall of Fame. And what's Baldinger doing in here? Why is Baldinger, like, you got to have, don't the Hall of Fame body parts have to belong to Hall of Famers?
What do you think about Steph Curry's shoulders for carrying Durant? Go ahead. Give me a greater pair of shoulders than Steph Curry's. I mean, carrying that guy around for a couple of years.
What makes him shout at his computer, give me the Nadal Djokovic, I dare you, I won't watch football Sunday, I'm lying. Like, why do all those taunts have to be spoken out loud?
Look at him. He's a sports fan meathead.
It's a great Sunday coming up.
He said that, and then he just realized, oh, it's the NFL. I'm lying.
I'm telling you, there are few Sundays better. Mike, you will agree with me. Few Sundays better than when you get the opening Sunday NFL season, and at 4 o'clock you get that U.S. Open men's final.
It's too much.
Yes.
It's too much. Because I'm all excited because the Browns are undefeated. My team are undefeated heading into a season. I want to watch all the football because you miss football so much right now, and you want to go all out. And then you realize after 1 week why it is that you need some balance in your life. But I don't want the U.S. Open men's final on the same time as the football kickoff week. I don't need it. Don't need it. Too much. Make it Monday. Make it Tuesday night.
I don't think a lot of people care about that one. I don't think football is losing any viewership to the U.S. Open.
But it's losing me. It's losing part of my attention span. Thankfully, I got the double-decker TV set up.
Right.
But Nadal Djokovic won't get the sound because I don't need the sound for tennis. I can figure out what's happening.
Oh, I need the sound for tennis, man. I need to hear the grunts. I need to hear the ball off the racket, the ball off that hard court. I need the sounds for tennis. Don't need it so much for football.
First world problems here with these TVs.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's not that big of an investment. Get yourself the double-decker TV setup, people. How do you watch sports without it, honestly? And for the NFL season, you're absolutely going to need the sound on because who's going to explain to you what a tackle is?
I'm curious. Is it true that Willie Taggart on Sunday was wearing a whistle around his neck?
Oh, the Monday night game?
Yes, excuse me, the Monday night game. Well, no, Al Golden wore a tie. He didn't wear a whistle.
I thought he wore a whistle with the tie.
No. You
but first of all, can we find out if it's true? Was Willie Taggart wearing a whistle on the sidelines during the game where they got throttled by Virginia Tech, and Florida State had as disappointing an opening weekend as any team in the country?
I'm checking on it. What I can guarantee you is that Willie Taggart is on the hot seat. I mean, that's
it? One game?
Yeah.
Of course, one game. I mean, geez, it was a disaster. -7 yards in the third quarter.
Stugotz is right. The guy that hired him is already gone. He'd replace Oliver Luck, so he's already on the hot seat after one game. And yes, I have confirmed there is a whistle around Willie Taggart's neck from the Monday night throttling they received at the hands of Virginia Tech.
Why?
He's a coach. Coaches wear whistles.
See how fast he gets flagged for something if he's out there blowing that thing. Like, that's strictly a hood ornament he was wearing. I mean, you can't have that. You can't have that. Those two things combined. You're the coach who comes out of the gate for FSU historic program that way, and also you're wearing a whistle around your neck when there is no chance that you will blow it, Coach.
Manning's forehead?
Which Manning?
Hey, Peyton.
Yeah. And then you need Eli's lips. Or just general face. Eli's face.
Eli's face can't be in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, it's the funnest face in sports.
Is it? I thought it was Jay Cutler's face. I thought Jay Cutler's face was the funnest in sports.
Strahan's teeth?
What? Now, wait a minute. What are we
Elway's gums?
No,
LeBron's hairline?
Oh.
I don't even know what you guys are doing anymore.
Body Part Hall of Fame.
You're playing a different game than the one I was playing.
I know Taggart spent Monday night blowing it, but this is ridiculous. What? ESPN. What? I heard you.
Don Le Batard.
So during the break, Stugotz is just staring at the television, and he says to Adrian Wojnarowski, who should probably go without saying, isn't someone who can hear what he's saying because he's on television. He's not in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Stugotz looks at the TV and says, Woj, that's a nice shirt and jacket combo.
Stugotz.
I'm crazy.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We'll get to what Terry Bradshaw had to say again about Mike Tomlin. Terry Bradshaw's won a lot of championships. He represents the face and balding head of Steelers championship glory. And he doesn't have much use for Mike Tomlin as a coach. Says so publicly, which is not something you see very often from a guy who's a broadcaster taking out a coach that way in his city. And I really don't know what to do with the Steelers in this regard, Stugotz. I don't know whether they're overachievers or underachievers because they've got one of the best receivers I've ever seen. They've got one of the best running backs I've ever seen. They've got a quarterback we all know to be very good who's a multiple-time champion. Even though he's on the decline. So why does that team keep going up against New England and never winning? Because New England, if they had those players, would beat you with them.
Right.
But Antonio Brown, they made him. Antonio Brown wasn't a high draft pick. No, Antonio Brown wasn't somebody who was viewed as a great wide receiver coming out of school with great skills. Le'Veon Bell's a second-round pick. Ben Roethlisberger is a middle of the first-round pick. They built those guys into what they are. Do they get credit for that, or are they underachievers because of that? Because rare is the team that has that threesome as its skill position set. Like there is no better threesome. That's the best there is.
It's pretty. Yeah, I think it's probably the best in the NFL. I guess it depends on your perspective and your history, right? Like Jet fans would sign up for Tomlin right now. The last 10 years, they've won a Super Bowl, been to another Super Bowl. His record is 116-60, man.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, 116-60.
That's right. But what is the legacy of the Steelers, though? What is it? What is it right now? This group, not because Terry Bradshaw's coming from a different time. Terry Bradshaw's coming from when it was really the glory days of Pittsburgh. They were the Patriots back then. He was the quarterback, and it didn't much matter that he was the quarterback because he didn't have to be that good because everybody else around him was that good.
It's a bit of a murky. Well, their legacy is always going to be champions, no matter what. But it is a little murky because there was a Cowher one of the two rings. One was Cowher's, one was Tomlin's, and it was towards the early part of Tomlin's tenure there. So was he doing it with the Cowher guys a little bit? It's hard to sort of pick apart. And if you just go Tomlin, he started with a boom, but since. Yeah, it's been kind of disappointing.
Bradshaw's talking from a different time because what he's talking about is how he feared his coach, and he played very strongly for a coach he feared. And he doesn't like that Tomlin is buddies with the players. So what he's arguing on behalf of is an outdated management style. I feared my coach, therefore I'd prefer if everyone feared Mike Tomlin.
Right. I mean, but the game's changed, right? You would expect that sort of opinion from Bradshaw. I think most players don't want to
you've got Le'Veon Bell right now coming into the season whenever the hell he wants, arriving whenever he wants because he makes more money than his coach. And he still doesn't think it's enough. And the coach has how much power in that situation where Le'Veon Bell is sitting there saying, I'm not coming into work. I'm kind of important to everything you do game week.
But there isn't one way of doing things, obviously. You have players, coaches like Pete Carroll that have been successful, and you have Bill Belichick and Tom Coughlin coming in and changing cultures and winning championships. Look what Jacksonville has given all the credit to Tom Coughlin by just being there and changing their culture.
The last 4 seasons, so he's well removed from Cowher's players and all that, right? The last 4 seasons, they've won the division 3 times. I mean, they're 45-19. They lost in the playoffs. That's frustrating, but still, a lot of teams would take that every single season.
Well, but the most damning indictment, okay, if you want to criticize the Steelers, the most damning indictment is you got that receiver, that running back, that quarterback, and New England keeps beating you with those guys. Like, you can't do anything against New England when you know if the situation were reversed and you gave Belichick those same players, all of us would think he's going to go undefeated. Because when he had Randy Moss, he almost did.
Sure. I mean, I think the losses to New England, maybe the fans could stomach. I think it's the loss to Jacksonville at home that happened last year. Like, that's something. After a 13-3 season.
Jacksonville turned out to be pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, and Jacksonville actually gave New England a hell of a game in that AFC championship. I mean, Pittsburgh did almost beat them head-to-head. There was that weird catch, not a catch situation. We never got to see the matchup we thought we were going to see all year.
There's that, too. Guillermo, do we have that sound cleared on this counterfeit Joey Galloway, who the only fast we've seen him do around here is run away from this radio show's claims that he cannot actually run what he says he can run in his 40s. He's still out here propping up this lie. What is this from? What is the courtesy of where is Joey Galloway still doing this? We have this wager against Joey Galloway that he cannot do this, what he says he can do.
This is a pregame show with Ed and Burke before ESPN's college football
We
coverage.
cannot allow Joey Galloway to keep getting away with this on these airwaves.
Who wins in a 40-yard dash? Joey Galloway, Bryce Love, Jonathan Taylor.
Right now? Until you find either one of those guys put up a 4-1 something, I don't want to hear it.
4-1 something. He's still out here claiming he can run. How old is Joey Galloway now? 45?
I think so, yeah.
We'll see. Now, we tried to set this up, and I was trying to reach him directly, and I got ghosted for
Well, that's what happened. The last we heard from Joey Galloway is when we right before we got ghosted. Now all of a sudden we can't. We've been trying. He needed perfect conditions. He needed his own timer. He was get out of here 4-1. Nobody can run a 4-1 in their 40s.
He's 46 now. I feel like that's his go-to move. It's almost like kicking off the football season. Like when Joey Galloway says that, football season has begun. He says it every year.
I remember a couple years ago, and one of the few times I did actually speak to him and try to set it up, he's like, no, I can't do it in the winter. It has to be right at the spring because that's when my muscles are perfect because winter's too cold to be running a 4-1.
That's when I'm most aerodynamic. But I just want it known publicly that this radio show is publicly again calling Joey Galloway counterfeit for continuing to claim that he can run a 4-1 at 46 years old.
I don't think he can beat Chris.
No, I got him.
That we should set up. We should set up.
Stop wasting your time. Galloway ain't coming down here. He's scared, man.
That we could get that to be a pay-per-view event. Joey Galloway running against Fat Chris, who has proven to be the most undefeated of champions around here, smoking everyone, including Thor Gill back there.
Any season, I'll take him.
Now,
winner too?
Look at this. Ooh. Look at this. Any season, Galloway. We got a bunch of frauds and counterfeit people. You got Golich here running away from his ode. What's going on there? Is he just silently taking this beating publicly and saying nothing about it on air?
Apparently so, yeah. He hasn't said anything to me either. I mean, I tell you, he gave me a private massage, put his hands on my glutes. I did not like it. I don't want another one. Somehow I am sandwiched inside of bet you made with Golic last year at a Miami Notre Dame game.
Will you quit complaining about it and just answer my question of what's going on with Golic and why hasn't he massaged your glute yet for the way his Notre Dame team took a beating against Miami last year? He can't be out here gloating about how great Notre Dame is this year with this outstanding debt.
I'm kind of hoping you forget about this, man.
Payday! It is payday!
Make your own bets. I mean.
Go, Leach. You shouldn't be gloating. You should be gluting.
Don Le Batard.
I love what the Rams are doing. The Rams have a head football coach who is younger than the child star Raven.
Stugotz.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Guillermo? Why are you making the face?
What are you doing? You've been using that child star Raven line. First off, her name's Raven Simone, and she's getting to the point that you should stop using that.
But this is my point, that the coach of the Rams is a child star. Why are you guys making faces? Give me a better reference than that.
Drew Barrymore?
Give me no, come on, man. Drew Barrymore's damn near my age.
No.
It's not really.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
We have high potential for disaster in about 24 hours. No Stugotz, no Mike Ryan, but Gary Busey.
Oh, man.
Gary Busey.
As co-host?
Wow.
Gary Busey is coming through. When Stugotz leaves town, we have to go get Gary Busey to replace him. Guillermo, why have you been laughing? I mean, the last 10 years of public Gary Busey have been amazing to watch. Why are you laughing back there, Guillermo?
Well, his book is Buseyism's Bible. Basic instructions before leaving Earth, which some would say Gary Busey left Earth a while ago.
Yeah,
a decade ago.
This is such a bummer, man. We're going to be tuned in at 11:30 a.m. Eastern when Gary Busey joins. You know why? Because that isn't just Gary Busey. It's Pappas.
Oh, it's Pappas.
We finally get Pappas, and Mike Ryan and Stugotz aren't even going to be here. It was like that day that I wasn't at the studio, and Bryan Cranston shows up for an interview nobody knew we had at the height of Breaking Bad. When all I want to do is talk of Breaking Bad, he shows up on a day I'm not here, and Sedano and Izzy end up talking to him.
Wow.
Do you still have Bryan Cranston's newspaper from when and don't forget Benjamin Bratt, who I had so many Demolition Man questions for.
They both showed up together
at Benjamin Bratt.
No, but this isn't Bratt's newspaper. This is just
Cranston's.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that was a tough one for you, right? Because Cranston's a guy you wanted on forever. I felt the same way. I was out one day, and you guys had Iverson on.
Bryan Cranston showing up unannounced, nobody having any explanation for how this might have been, and doing a sit-down interview with George Sedano and Izzy Gutierrez is probably the most incredible show moment we've ever had.
I mean, it was really weird. It was certainly
surreal.
There's 50 Buseyisms in here, by the way. If you want any of them, just let me know. Love, living on victorious energy, Buseyism.
Which one is the ex-presidents or surfers?
Exactly.
Surfers.
Ooh. Forgive, finding ourselves really giving individuals valuable energy. Death, don't expect a tragedy here. Life, living in forever eternity. 50. I'm not going to read 50.
You're not going to read 50 of them? That's too bad.
I mean, Point Break is our favorite movie. Pappas is on tomorrow. Mike and I won't be here. I'm very upset about this. Can I tape a question or two, just a Point Break question or two that you could play for Pappas?
You think Busey's going to know the difference? That dude's been fried for 2 decades.
Chapter 22, Bad, Baloney and Dirt.
The guy's got fried egg for brain.
So, yes?
Yeah, you can ask all the questions if you want. You can tape record all the questions for Pappas.
22 years in L.A. Lots changed. The air got dirty and the sex got clean. Pappas.
Chapter 43, Odd, Other Dynamic Dimensions. I'm going to read this.
I mean, you already are, it sounds like. Feel free, though, to find any of the funny stuff. You know, like if you want to.
Waiting for it.
Like maybe you'll just keep reading and not have funny stuff. Just acronym after acronym.
Pappas is an iconic movie character, is he not?
No.
Are you kidding me?
No,
Put that on the poll right now. I dare you.
All right, for us.
He's an iconic movie. Right. Pappas from Point Break?
Billy doesn't even know who Pappas
Guillermo,
is.
put it on the poll. Is Pappas from Point Break an iconic movie?
I thought we were talking about a tennis player. Who's Pappas?
Pappas is Johnny Utah's veteran partner that has the whole theory that the ex-presidents are surfers. He really cracks the case with the help of Johnny Utah, who goes undercover with the help and training of Lori Petty to infiltrate the ex-presidents.
Top Gun?
No, this is Point Break.
Well, hold on a second, because some people were asking before how Guillermo knows who Gary Busey is and who Kiss is, but not the Beastie Boys. And it just got me to thinking about, many of you probably don't even know this story. Gene Simmons was on with us one time. It is weird that you would know. Put it on the poll, Guillermo. Is it weird that Guillermo would know who Kiss is, but not the Beastie Boys? Gene Simmons was on with us, and he is just the cheesiest. This is not surprising to anybody. He is got an undercurrent of foul sewage running underneath all his pipes. And
Hi, this is Gene Simmons. Ask your sister and your mommy, too. She knows about me. And Dan Levitz, those farm animal pictures I have of you, I promise I won't tell anybody.
All right. The part I was going to set up, though, was the idea that he said, I got this. I'm a radio veteran. I know how to do all of these wacky radio promos because I'm Gene Simmons. And so he does it, and he nails it.
Hi, this is Gene Simmons. Ask your sister and your mommy, too. She knows about me. And Dan Levitz, those farm animal pictures I have of you.
Ben Roethlisberger, to me, has more pressure on him than Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers has been a one-man army carrying the Green Bay Packers on his back for years. That has not been the case with Big Ben.
Man,
am I lying?
Can you stop carrying Aaron Rodgers' water right now?
Please.
Can you stop carrying his water?
Can I tell you this? I'll gladly do it. I will gladly do it. I would gladly. I'd be a water boy for Aaron Rodgers if I was in the NFL.
You know what?
He's that bad.
You know why I don't concern myself with Big Ben and the Pittsburgh Steelers? Because they'll never get over that mental roadblock that is the New England.
There you go.
They'll get over that.
There you go. Go ahead, Max.
Please. Your animal pictures I have of you, I promise, I won't tell anybody.
Demand once more money.
Stugotz to this day still refers to me as Levitt.
I do.
Dan Levitz. Dan Levitz.
Great name.
Dan Levitz.
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Ricky always wanted to play baseball in the majors. He was playing catch before he could walk, practically lived in the batting cages. He was behind home plate more than he was home. And one day, after all that hard work, he found himself walking into a Major League Baseball stadium. After buying a ticket at the front gate. A nosebleed seat obscured by a pole, but he was in there. No, Ricky never did play in the big leagues, but he did switch his car insurance to Geico, proud partner of Major League Baseball, which saved him a lot. So, all in all, things were good.
All right, so Colin Kaepernick, you may have heard. Colin Kaepernick is now the Nike spokesman for the 30th anniversary of Just Do It. Everyone on this network had an opinion about that yesterday. The president of the country now says that it's a terrible message that Nike is sending. Here's Will Cain. You can hear Will Cain every day here on the station, ESPN Radio, whatever station you're listening to us on. It's right after us. Will Cain, here he is on the Kaepernick issue. He appears wherever it is that people are discussing Kaepernick. He appears and starts talking about it. Sometimes it's on a rowboat. Sometimes he's just catapulted in from some sort of wooden thing. Wherever it is that people are talking about Kaepernick, Will Cain shows up.
With this endorsement, with this sponsorship, Colin Kaepernick has gotten paid by Nike for the cause he's been the front man for. Nike is going to get paid on the back of an issue that meant more than selling shoes. And everybody in the entire line now, because Nike wanted this, different than In-N-Out, different than Chick-fil-A, Nike wanted this. Nike is profiteering off what was a serious issue. Nike has capitalized, monetized your true believer thoughts. Nike is the only person here who's intent on business and getting paid. That's where your social issues sit today in 2018.
But it's still an important issue. Whether Nike decides to commercialize it or not, it can still be an important issue, even as a sneaker campaign might feel like it cheapens it. But let's get more Will Cain here. You can hear him every day after our show.
I don't work up the level of outrage of the people out there obviously burning their Nikes on social media, or even those that are upset about it. I'm not upset about it. Not upset about Nike, not upset about Kaepernick. The only thing I would say is this. The idea that Kaepernick sacrificed everything, that to me was a misstep. That's a message that could upset people. And that a message, understandably, people be like, really? Becoming the spokesman for Nike? Getting a multi-million-dollar endorsement campaign with Nike? Giving up a pro football career? That's sacrificing everything? I understand people to go, please, put that in context. Even on these issues, look at guys. You don't have to do the military thing. You don't have to talk about the people who've given up their life. You can even talk about the people who gave up in the fight for civil rights. Much more than the everything it's insinuated Colin Kaepernick gave up. It's just a little much to say Colin Kaepernick sacrificed everything.
After Stephen A's show, that's a fun.
Well, we'll hear from Stephen A. on this issue because if Kaepernick is being discussed somewhere, he sometimes will arrive as well by bumper car or by rocket ship or by transportation out of Syracuse from the Syracuse football locker room. Stephen A. Smith can also be heard after our show, and he had opinions on Colin Kaepernick.
We're not aware that Kaepernick knew it would sacrifice everything because he didn't announce to the world what he was doing. He just took a knee. And the local and national media ignored it for weeks. And then after he was asked, he told them why he was taking the knee. But even after that, he was still on the roster. He was still playing. And when he left, he opted out of his own contract. Kaepernick wasn't aware it would cost him everything. There was no plan here. Why you think the Players Coalition got their own plan, but Kaepernick Eric Davis and others, in terms of teammates, have their own other vision. There's no orchestrated, devised plan here. There's never been.
He meant Eric Reed.
Yeah, you can't hear both after our show. That's impossible. They don't do a show together. It's Stephen A. after us. Will Kane does 3 to 6. We're not on a radio station. We're on a radio network.
Well, but
they do a show together, though, and that show is First Take.
Right, but Dan had said both those guys' shows were on after our show here on the radio station.
They are both after ours.
Yeah, but not directly after hours. I mean, Will Kane, you got to sit through 2 hours of Stephen A. Smith before you get to Will Kane. That's all. I'm not certain if you knew the lineup. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm just
but one is
out.
directly after us, right? And then the other one's directly after that one.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes. Yep. Stephen A. first, and then Will Kane is second. That is right.
Let's hear some more from Stephen A. Smith on how Nike has hijacked this story.
Everybody's sitting up there and they're saying, Nike, ahead of the curve. Nike, on the right side of history. Nike. Well, bravo, Nike. Congratulations for being so damn obvious. Here's my question to Nike. Where the hell have you been? 2 years. For the last 2 years, you have been paying Colin Kaepernick. Where were the advertisements? Where was the marketing? Where were the T-shirts and the shoes? Where was that at? Where were those merchandise? What was going on? You were a bit late to the party. And so now that Nike has jumped on the bandwagon, essentially hijacking the issue themselves, we're going to find ourselves talking about what Nike did instead of what Colin Kaepernick supposedly intended.
So hijack it sooner is the point. If you're going to hijack this story, do it a couple of years earlier. I think everything that's being said there is largely true, and I think that Nike got a return on its investment yesterday, even as the stock price dropped, just by everyone talking about this.
Their investors are not happy. Nike investors are not happy because of that news and the drop that came with it.
All sneaker companies went down yesterday, and again, we will repeat that Adidas and Puma were talking about doing this before Nike decided to re-up with him. They were talking about whether there was been money to be had here. And again, we continue to criticize both the messengers and the way that the message is being diluted here, because it becomes about something else. We're now arguing about Nike. We're now arguing about whether it cheapens it slightly or by degrees. But a sponsor that is one of the NFL's biggest, and we know the NFL cares about that. We don't know that the NFL cares about this issue actually. We know that the NFL cares about its sponsors. One of its biggest is Nike, and one of its biggest did this without consulting the league that it knows it must have infuriated with this. And now the next question becomes, these ads going to be running during games? Are these ads going to be running during football games to remind people that a quarterback has been almost literally blacklisted?
That's going to be interesting to see. Does the NFL have the power to not air those commercials during the game? I don't know how that works.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I've seen the reports, though, that the NFL was not informed of this, and that becomes the first giant company to say, okay, we don't mind those presidential Twitter hands. We'll take everybody in the NFL, all the guys running this tough guy sport, all of them are afraid of the president of the United States sticking his beak in their business, literally in their business. None of them want that. And Jerry Jones has said so in sworn testimony. But Nike doesn't mind. And it can be both. Nike can get involved in this fight, and Nike can also profit off of getting involved in this fight. We keep making this mistake of making these companies moral arbiters for us. Nike's in the money-making business. And if you read some of the stuff about this in terms of how they do marketing strategy and the timing of this announcement in terms of where their quarter year ends and where it is that their advertising starts, this is systematic. They didn't just decide yesterday, hey, right before the NFL season, a week before, let's drop this on Goodell. They didn't just decide that one day. Like, everything Nike does is touched by a lot of hands. And they're better at it than almost anyone in sports. Almost anyone across sports, they're better at selling their stuff. You think that they just did this by some sort of accident?
Important conversation. I'm glad we're having it.
Don Batard.
Wasted away again in Margaritaville. Searching for my lost shaker of sand.
Stugotz.
Some people claim that there's a green person to blame.
Really?
But I don't.
I'm not
Margaritaville, baby.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Get in touch with the show anytime to the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed. It's at Le Batard Show, at Stugotz790. Dan, it's time for Straight Talk. It is brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts.
This is from sports law professor Alicia Jessup. Nike is a global brand whose last reported revenue was $9.79 billion. It conducts marketing research and employs renowned advertisers. The timing of yesterday's ad comes 3 weeks before its next earnings report and 3 days before the NFL season starts. Nike knows exactly what it's doing. It's the part that I would be most interested in finding out about is how does this go over at the NFL offices to have one of its giant sponsors. Everyone is cloaked in the Nike gear in this sport, to have one of its giant sponsors not only do this, but do this without asking permission, do this without consent, do this as is being reported as a blindside to one of your to one of your big partners.
You have to imagine they're upset by it, though, don't you? I mean, naturally,
I would
they
love
be
to know
upset.
what the honest conversations are. I would love to know, because much as the president of the United States has chosen this as a winning issue for him, as testified by Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, this is a winning issue for Nike. I'm assuming the research shows.
Yes.
I'm assuming that they have a way to quantify when they're doing revenue of $9.79 billion. I'm going to go ahead and give them the credit that perhaps they know a little bit about how to run a business and what choices they make in terms of marketing. And I think Kaepernick, whatever they've paid him over the last year, he just paid for himself. He just by a lot. You cannot buy this kind of advertising all over ESPN where Nike wants in on this discussion.
I think Nike said they got, or there was a report, Mike, right? Maybe $35-40 million worth of PR since the Kaepernick announcement, since they made that announcement.
And to answer Dan's question, they kind of gave us a non-answer while declining to comment. This is courtesy of USA Today from a Nike spokesperson. Nike has a long-standing relationship with the NFL and works extensively with the league on all campaigns that use current NFL players and its marks. However, Colin isn't currently employed by an NFL team and has no contractual obligation to the NFL.
Nike doesn't care. I mean, maybe they do a little bit, but they don't care about me or you or what Will Kane has to say. They care about teenage kids and whether or not they're going to buy Nike shoes. I mean, that's what they care about.
But I would be curious about this, though. The part to me that's most interesting in the games of rich people is I'd love to hear from Phil Knight on this. I'd love to know what Phil Knight, who treats sports as a bit of a toy, the Oregon football program, you've heard the stories about how they're opulent because of him, and he's allowed to call plays during games with his booster friends in the skybox because he just runs that program. It's a playpen for him. I would love to know honest thoughts from somebody as the spokesman for this company. I would just love to know how high this climbs, and if he's decided, no, I want in on this fight. I want to fight this league. I want to fight my corporate partner. Like, how high does this stuff climb when you get to these decisions? One would assume that this is not done without Phil Knight is by any consensus top 5 most powerful man in sports, right? Like, if I put Phil Knight and Jerry Jones across from each other, isn't Phil Knight the monster? Like, who am I putting next to Phil Knight where you're like, that guy's as powerful in sports as Phil Knight, the guy who runs Nike?
Jerry Jones had no comment and said he respects Nike.
Well, he's done talking for the moment just because he's made so many messes that Goodell has finally told him to shut up.
Yeah, I'm going to say Tom Brady. Most powerful person in that league.
Yeah.
Garoppolo, out of here.
Yep.
Guerrero, back on flights.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ask me a question about Guerrero, I'll walk away.
He's back on the sideline.
Allison, do we have any chance of getting Phil Knight on here?
Yeah, we requested him. He passed today. He may pass tomorrow. Well, he passed yesterday. No one's heard from Phil Knight on this. Nike has people that they pay lots of money to go out and put out official statements.
But on this one, wouldn't you imagine, I don't know what kind of delegator he is, but on this one, this is not something that crosses the CEO's desk and ends up in anyone's face before he has said yes. Correct?
Oh, Phil Knight's very involved.
One has to assume that this is not something that you're just delegating to your people.
Correct. There's no way. I can't imagine there's a way where this happened without Phil Knight having knowledge of it and approving it.
What I would just love is some honest, transparent conversations about what's happening there. I don't think we're entitled to it, and it's not the way people run big business. But if you want to get me engaged on this topic that is so tired with nothing new over the last year, the way to do it is, how do the rich people really think? What do they really think?
Man, maybe I'm jaded, but I don't think the issue at the heart of this matter is really what's discussed at the office at Nike headquarters. I think this is a risk analysis conversation. What does doing this cost us? What's the fallout with our partners?
But I'd love to know what that is, though. I'd love to, because look, man, when it comes to race and Kaepernick, we've seen over the last few years that it's just about everyone taking sides. Everyone keeps taking sides. It's one of the reasons this conversation has gotten tired. But I would like to know in honest terms. I would love to know, can it be both? Is Nike making a marketing decision and also some sort of principled stand by specifically doing this week? It's the open of the season. Their partner does not want this talked about. And the only reason it's being talked about is because Nike made it talked about. We were not going to be talking about this week.
But it seems like you're engaged because you've been talking about it for a half hour. But it's an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it.
Dan Batard.
Why do people still use yellow highlighters, pink highlighters, purple highlighters, blue highlighters, green highlighters, orange highlighters? Why are people using yellow highlighters?
Marlins fans, this is our year! Another one!
I love DJ Khaled. He's so dope.
Stugotz.
We the best! This is what I do. I yell!
Fire emoji. Fireworks. Flames. Boom.
Derek Jeter! I made him a New Yorker! Marlins fans, I don't have much else than this!
We probably shouldn't have broke 10 minutes early last segment. Really threw off the clocks here. Now we have to fill for another 15 minutes.
Another one.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
Football is approaching, and that means I want you to imagine Stugotz, not unlike Rambo in the movies, dropping to a knee with a sleeve of bullets on his left arm as he goes nipple to nipple with his takes, machine gun takes, rapid fire. He is just spitting information during the breaks, okay? So this was my experience the last break. Go ahead and rat-a-tat-tat the things that you are firing at me because you are just consuming information nonstop as football approaches.
Well, I mean, Mike Reese is saying that this is the second worst wide receiver core that Tom Brady has ever had. I mean, I find that fascinating, that this is the second worst. Tom Brady's really never has done so much winning with such poor wide receivers with the exception of Randy Moss. That is pretty amazing. It's kind of like Nick Saban doing all that winning without having a quarterback, and now he has the greatest quarterback in the history of college football. So there's that, and then there's Bill Barnwell, who wrote a piece explaining how every team in the NFL could win the Super Bowl and how they do it and what their percentages are of doing it. And he grouped them in category. Mike, you have a chance.
What?
You have a chance. Now, it's a 0.1% chance, but you have a shot.
Mike Ryan is a Browns fan, has been since his childhood when his abuelita at the dollar store, the only dishes that were left were Cleveland Browns dishes.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm hurting. What a bloodbath Hard Knocks was last night.
We'll get to that in a second.
So you have a group of teams, including the Browns, who have a 0.1% of, at less than 0.1%, according to Barnwell, of winning the Super Bowl, but they have a shot.
How is that a shot?
Well, Barnwell is saying division is down. Browns are quarterback play is a lot better. Turnover margin ratio will go down a lot. And if things bounce the right way, the Browns could find themselves in the Super Bowl. I mean, listen, it's a bunch of malarkey, I'll tell you right now. But anyone who's going to sit here and tell me my Jets have a chance and they're in that less than 0.1% category, I am all in. So the Jets have a less than 0.1% chance of winning the Super Bowl along with the Bills. Now the Dolphins, for, our Miami fans down here, they have a 0.2% chance of winning a Super Bowl. They're in that group. Yeah, they're in that group.
Yeah. Gasing it.
And
Landry.
they're the only one in that group. Only one in the 0.2% group.
That makes sense.
Yep. Then you skip up to 0.3%, and that's where you have the Giants and the Redskins. How about that? And the Broncos at 0.4%.
Don't you stop. Just keep going.
Oh, you want me to keep going?
Yes.
Bears, 0.5%.
Was that pre or post-Mac?
That was post-Mac.
Whoa.
Pre-Mac, they were in the Jets and Browns category.
Oh, wow.
So Khalil Mack is good for 0.4%.
We should have got Mac.
How about that? Yep. Bengals, 0.5%.
That's where I had the Giants there at 0.5.
Yeah, well, Barnwell's the expert. Raiders, 0.5%, and then you jump up to 0.6.
What were the Raiders post-Mac? Well, that's Raiders post-Mac. What were they pre-Mac?
I'll get to I think they were 0.75, but I'll check on that. I'll confirm in a second.
Bad deal.
Yep. And then you got the Lions, the only team at 0.6, and then you make a big jump up to 0.7, and that's where you'll find the Seahawks, the Colts, and then you get into the ones.
We're finally getting to the teams with a 1% chance.
Greater than 1% chance.
Oh. Give me one.
1.3%.
Give me one.
49ers.
Sleeper with a 1.3% chance.
But that McKinnon injury probably hurt their chances.
1.3%. Now I've arrived at a place greater than 1.5%.
Okay, you're basically in the Super Bowl.
So the real contenders.
Cowboys. 1.7%.
Wow, that's low.
Titans also in that category.
Oh, get the Titans and their 8-8 out of here. Yeah. Get them out of here. Get them out of here. Guillermo, put it on the poll. Get the Titans and their 8-8 out of here. Yes or no?
Now it jumps up to 1.8, just one team. It's the Texans.
Okay.
I should have written this article. But anyway, okay.
Well, you're not that good at math.
No, I'm not. Now we're in the twos. This is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
No, we're in these teams have a real shot.
What's the best? What's the best
math?
percentage? Yes, it is.
Oh wait, are all these going to equal 100? Is that how this works?
I'm not certain. Is anyone keeping track? Is it supposed to?
What difference does that make? If it comes out at 110%, what difference does it make?
It should add up to 110% because teams don't win the Super Bowl without giving 110%.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. There it is.
So we're in the twos, low twos, granted, and then there's a big jump. There's only one team in the twos, and then it jumps up over the threes. Carolina, 2.1% chance.
I like that one.
Okay.
Dead on. We can all agree, consensus,
Dead on.
2.1% chance.
Now you got Jacksonville. 3.1%. That's a big jump.
Taking that bet.
3.1.
Wow.
3.1. He has the Chiefs at 3.2.
Oh, so many unknowns.
Ahead of the Jags.
Oh.
Yep.
How does Sammy Watkins fit?
This is where it starts to go downhill for me.
Really?
Barnwell says the Ravens have a 3.5% chance of winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, no. That defense pins its ears back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a loon. He's a loon for saying the Ravens are that high.
So then what happens here is, you have the Chargers at 3.7, and then you just skip the 4s, skip the 5s, you jump right to the 6s.
What?
Yeah.
Is this the highest percentage chance?
This is the Falcons at 6.2%, 8th highest percentage chance. 6.5 Saints.
Wow.
I'm going to jump up here, okay?
Okay.
To the top 3.
Okay.
Because
hold on, slow down, because this has really escalated in a way that has been, hypnotic and disorienting and terrible radio. So get the production out here so that we can give this the appropriate fanfare here. This is Bill Barnwell. Every team in the league has a chance to win the Super Bowl, but some have a better chance than others. Here it is, the top 3 just released Bill Barnwell numbers.
11.1%, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Woo!
How about
that? That's the defending champions.
Yep, and just to tell you how good Barnwell thinks the Eagles are going to be, the Rams, 7.7%.
Give us a bonus fourth there for no
reason, right, to make it more boring. Steelers coming at number 2, 11.6%.
No, but they're going to lose to Cleveland. No Le'Veon Bell? You kidding me?
And then 16.4% chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Astronomical.
The Patriots.
Of course.
No, come on.
Come on, Barnwell. Come on, Barnwell. We just got done saying they're the second worst receivers ever. The quarterback's 100 years old.
They've been doing this for 40 years.
Come on, Barnwell.
40 years.
Barnwell. Barnwell's a jerk. You ruined it, Barnwell. What kind of list just puts the Patriots at the end? We can't name any but one of their players.
What kind of list gives the Jets and the Browns a chance?
It's just Gronk and Brady.
I added it up. It's 100.3%.
Oh, what? Wow. Where's the other 10?
The man wants more money.
The regular season starts tomorrow. It starts tomorrow. It's here. I can't believe that. Football's back, baby.
Yeah.
Well, entertainment porpoise on those road doggies, huh? Like the Falcons now. Like their chances.
The Bills are really going with Nathan Peterman.
Yep.
That's a thing that's happening.
Yep.
How is this guy allowed to do this?
He was really good during the preseason.
0.1% chance. I mean,
they got rid of Taylor. Took him to the playoffs. This seems crazy to me.
I know, but this is where the Bills are, right? They can't possibly trust either one of their quarterbacks because it's Josh Allen and this guy, Peterman. But they trust Nathan Peterman not at all, but more than Josh Allen.
I was reading they don't trust their offensive line, so they don't want the rookie to get hurt behind that offensive line, so they just throw out Peterman.
I got to be honest with you. I believe no one in the Bills organization trusts each other. And I believe all of that is earned.
Put that on the bowl.
Does anyone in the Bills organization trust any other Bill?
Cash more of the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz, 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Mike, can we go Suey montage winners here? Can we announce all of the winners from our Sueys? All right, we will do that in the next in this segment after Stugotz is done updating you on sports news.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guest on the Dan Le Batard Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Adam Schefter going to be here in a half hour, 12:30 Eastern. Here's your Sports Center update. The American Gaming Association says a fully mature U.S. sports gambling market could be worth $2.3 billion annually to the NFL. Doc Rivers says that it bothers him that his former players, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, can't get along. And finally, Chrissy Teigen projectile vomited during her daughter's school orientation. Not at home? Not a problem, because now you can get pizza delivery to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations like parks, beaches, and more with Domino's Hotspots. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's Hotspots. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the Sports Center on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
Mike, all at once, we're going to play them one after another. So are there any giant surprises here? This was a lot of loaded categories. You guys voted all week. It's our annual award show.
Yeah, pure cut. Some upsets. Dismissal, I think, is a huge upset. This is a montage of all the winners from all the categories.
Okay, all the categories. Again, imagine, I mean, Stugotz dismissals was the best picture category.
I mean, here's the thing. There are so many of my dismissals in there that I don't really have a chance of winning. I have a feeling, I haven't checked, I am dying to know. I have a feeling I know who won. I think the greatest sound in the history of our show was also in that category and probably won and deserved to win.
Liam Neeson?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll find out together.
And now, your 2018 Suey Award winners. Best Revelation, Tim Kirchin's bizarre dream about shooting free throws.
I have a recurring nightmare 3-4 times a year that I'm at the free throw line and I'm shooting a free throw, and instead of shooting a basketball, I'm shooting a winter coat.
What?
You can't shoot a winter coat.
Right.
It opens up and you shoot an air ball every time.
Wow.
That is a recurring nightmare that I have.
Best Story, Dan's awkward interaction with doctor during testicular ultrasound.
So yesterday, I have to have a testicular ultrasound. Bear of a man explains to me what I have to do. And what I have to do is I have to get on my back on a slab, throw my legs up in the air. Yeah, I need to cup my package with my left hand. Again, legs up in the air on my back. As I'm on this table on my back, and it's being explained that the gel is very cold and it's going to take about 6 or 7 minutes, and there's going to be a wand, an ultrasound wand that is waved over, the ultrasounded areas. As all of this is being explained to me, I'm there on my back just shaking my head like, how has my life arrived here? I'm saying to myself as I'm doing this, it can't get worse than this. It simply can't. This is the worst thing to ever happen to me. He looks me straight in the eye for the first time. And I'm in this position before the wand and the gel, and here we go. We're about to get started. And he says, I am such a big fan of your TV and radio shows.
He say anything about me?
Yes, actually, which is how we ended up in the next 7 minutes of conversation, where at various points he's laughing because I'm yelling at him about all of this, right? At this point, I'm like, dude, like that's the time you choose to tell me that.
But you're laughing?
I am laughing. I'm also mystified. I'm vulnerable. I'm still scared.
It sounds like he had a ball.
Best Stugotz mispronunciation. SWAT team.
Yeah. Squat team.
Uncomfortable moment. The entire Rob Manfred interview.
I think you cared more about that $1.2 billion asking price than you did about the fans of South Florida.
Yeah, well, can I tell you something? You actually have no idea what I care about and don't care about. The fact of the matter is a competitive club in each one of our 30 markets is my foremost concern.
All right, we got to go. I'm sorry, Commissioner. We're 10 minutes past time. Thank you I appreciate you being respectful. Thank you, sir.
All right, bye.
Best prediction. Dan would take Roy Hibbert over Tim Duncan.
You got a 7-game series against the Heat that you've got to win tomorrow. I'm giving you the entire league to pick players from. Who's your first pick?
I would say Tim Duncan. You need a big because obviously Miami.
No.
Yeah.
I can't believe you took Duncan over Hibbert. Like, what are you talking about?
Stay strong, Steven.
I would take Tim Duncan.
Yeah, me too.
Over Hibbert?
Yep.
Best laugh. Mina Kimes. Worst mistake. Dan thought former Utah Jazz coach Frank Layden was dead.
Who the hell's a happy coach? Is there such a thing as a happy coach?
How about Frank Layden?
Frank Layden was great. He's also dead and has been for many years.
Frank Layden's still with us.
Yeah. What?
Wow. That's a fine.
Wait a minute. What?
An egregious one.
Wait a minute. What?
$10, man. I mean, you just killed a man who's alive.
Wait a minute.
There's no death date on his Wikipedia.
That can't be right. Wait a minute.
So he's alive. If Wikipedia, there's no death.
Wait a minute.
Why can't it be
Did
right?
I just confuse him with Rick Majerus?
Because of Utah?
That is what just happened.
And that?
I'm so sorry. Frank Layden.
Another fine.
It is a fine.
Best back in my day. Bathroom time. Rich and poor share this room. Heads of state and supermodels to hobos, you and me. It's all that we have in common. That at some point soon we'll all be alone in the can. Drawers at our ankles, pinching a loaf. Back in my day, bathroom time was a quiet celebration. An almost holy time of solitude and reflection where we might tackle the meaning of life, or at least reconnoiter our own life. That changed. The communion of the commode has been usurped by the smartphone from which we are powerless to untether. You wouldn't be caught on your phone in church or during dinner, so why on earth would you desecrate the sanctum of the toilet, that most sacred of rooms where your day's most intimate business is done? Folks, ditch the smartphone and get back to you time in that most essential of rooms. Feel a kinship with the world as you flush and reach for the spray, and understand that somewhere Warren Buffett and Rihanna are doing the same thing, though likely in different rooms. Best limited fake. Chris Cody's fake Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil was a middle linebacker for Tulsa.
That's not true.
Please tell me
that can't be true.
What are you doing? You're offsides.
I hope you have more left in your tank.
Is that all you've got? Is that all? Do you have anything left?
Now that's encroachment. Are there any other football terms?
He needs funny phrases. Somebody give him funny phrases. Bail him out.
I love a good squib kick.
Squib kick is an excellent phrase. Squib kick. Do you have anything else in your arsenal?
Also love a good pooch punt.
Yeah, pooch is good. Yes. What else do you have in your comedic word arsenal? Is there anything else to squeeze from this?
Sit hut, flea flicker.
Yeah. Epic sound of the year. Billy calls the first pitch of the 2018 MLB season.
Jose Ureña standing at the back of the mound. He reaches down. He's rubbing some dirt and rosin on his hands. And here we go.
All right.
And the windup and the pitch. Oh, God, a home run on the first pitch of the game. Oh, my God.
Welcome, Derek Jeter. And that concludes our Marlins coverage for the season.
Best musical performance. Mina Kimes, DMX.
X gotta give it to you. Sorry. Don't try it again. Hold on. You got 5 seconds. You got 5 seconds. If you got anything better, hurry up. X gotta give it to you.
Best dismissal. Liam Neeson dismisses taking a pay cut, courtesy of the AP.
There's a lot of discussion about it and a lot of healthy and necessary discussion about it because the disparity sometimes is disgraceful.
How do you think we can move past that?
We're starting, and it has to start, and it's starting with these extraordinary actresses and brave ladies, and we as men have got to be part of it. We started it, so we have to be part of the solution.
So would you take a pay cut to kind of equal things out?
No. Pay cut? No. That's gone too far.
Excellent. Just an excellent year of nonsense. Stugotz has got an early submission for Mistake of the Year for next year. He said earlier here that Testaverde was at the tail end of his career in 1994 with the Browns. Testaverde, he retired in 2008. So 14 years after what Stugotz had pronounced was the tail end of Testaverde's career.
Money, 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 money.
I mean, you go to play quarterback for the Browns, you usually don't make it out alive. I'm surprised by that.
I still don't think Stugotz was inaccurate there. It was a tail end of a 50-year career.
Yeah, put it on the poll. Was the tail end of Vinny Testaverde's career 14 years?
Don Le Batard.
The scam I was running in college is I'm a sophomore, and I'm working for the Miami Herald, and by the tail end of my senior year, the Herald was always leaving me alone because they thought I had to finish schoolwork, and the professors were leaving me alone because they thought I had to do Miami Herald work. And so I was just at the Rat all the time. And so the last semester, I have no idea what my grades were. I do know I stopped caring about them.
Stugotz.
I think I graduated. Can you call the university? Can you guys call the university?
Yes, let's call. No,
but seriously, we should call their records department and ask them if I've actually graduated, because I don't know if I have. We might have a George O'Leary situation where I've been pretending to be a University of Miami grad all my life, but I haven't actually graduated.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
So is Le'Veon Bell really just going to show up on Friday, collect his game check, and not play? Is he going to dump a game for the Pittsburgh Steelers and the fan base and start what this is probably his last season with the Steelers, and he's going to start it that way? That what do you do if you're Tomlin? If he shows up Friday, you can't play him, can you?
Why not?
I mean, just without taking a snap,
Todd Gurley hasn't played in the preseason. I'm certain the Rams are going to start him on Sunday.
Yeah, but he's been at practice and in the facility training and getting ready for their week 1 opponent.
Mike, you're the coach of the Steelers. Le'Veon Bell shows up tomorrow. You're telling me you're not starting him on Sunday? He's your best player. I mean, him or Antonio Brown, your best players.
How do you know if they're ready or not?
I think they're doing this thing with him where he's not going to start, but who knows how much he actually plays.
As long as he shows up by a Friday or Saturday, he's and signs that tender, he's guaranteed his week 1 paycheck. But him not showing up to the Wednesday of a game week at the facility, A lot of people assume this just rules him out for week 1. Roethlisberger saying he's operating as if Connor's going to be starting.
We haven't seen this kind of mercenary in the modern age where he fools around with the holdout. He shows up at Dairy Queen and fills out an application. He messes with the fan base by doing things on social media, reminding everyone how valuable he is. It's not something that is normal in that league, that where you're allowed to be this kind of not team-oriented, this kind of business-oriented in a way that is thrown in the face of your customers.
I think he would say it's not normal to not pay someone long-term, big deal, who is this good. That's what Le'Veon Bell would say. He showed up roughly around the same time last year, right? It took him 3 weeks to really get going, but he did play in that first game. He had 10 carries for 32 yards. So
I mean, he had 406 touches last season. I don't blame Le'Veon Bell for wanting to get his check and maybe skip one of those games.
Well, wait a minute. What you say is interesting there, Mike, because that's what ultimately ran Ricky Williams out of the league. The idea that Wanstead was running him into the line 400 times a season, season after season after season, and that's inhumane. And so the way that the Steelers used Le'Veon Bell, absolutely, you understand why in a game where your body can betray you, you'd want to get that money up front. You'd understand, too, why he's hurt as he sees that Todd Gurley is getting money. The Rams are not afraid, man. The Rams are going all in on what they have right now. They believe that now is Rams football time.
I mean, you want to talk mercenaries. Sue is a mercenary. 1-year deal, just guaranteed, just big-time 1-year deal. He's going to go from team to team doing that. They got Talib, that locker room dynamic. Didn't they get Peters, too? Man. I mean, yeah, they're just taking they are the Statue of Liberty for every guy in the league who's got an attitude problem. They wanted in on Beckham when people were talking about whether the Giants. Yeah, so they settled for Cooks. Just 9 route after 9 route.
That's it. I mean, that's all that's going to be right there. It's just go 70 yards as fast as you can, please. We thought Sammy Watkins was going to do that for us, and he couldn't.
We'll get younger Sammy Watkins.
Le'Veon Bell, we've talked about what a mercenary Revis was. But what Le'Veon Bell is doing is usually, think about, what Jarvis Landry is being quoted saying in Sports Illustrated, all the mythology that he feeds. Cleveland is a working man's town. I'm a working man's receiver as he sits in a fitting room being fed strawberries and brought Gucci. Le'Veon Bell is throwing this in the face of a city that doesn't like it very much. A face where the city still gets its identity from its football team. Because its baseball team hasn't been what its football team is since Barry Bonds.
They'll like it plenty in a few weeks wherein, he has 162 yards on the ground and 8 catches for 94 yards and a couple of touchdowns. They'll be just fine.
I know, but his career is over in Pittsburgh. Like
Pittsburgh does have the option to pay the man. I mean, I'm certain he'd stay there if they'd offered him a good contract.
I mean, they would have done that already if they could have. Like, you got to take care of your employees when they're unhappy and that kind of value. But look at what the Packers just did for Aaron Rodgers. That was almost an act of altruism. It's as close as football comes to being a .org. They had him locked up till he's 39 years old, and they just decided to pay him because they know it's fair.
There were a lot of complaints from NFL players during the NBA offseason about how the NBA players get these guaranteed contracts. NFL since then has stepped up, and the game's biggest stars are getting big-time guaranteed contracts. And Bomani made this point on Twitter. Kirk Cousins, pioneer, a player compensation pioneer in getting that
$90 million guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
And Le'Veon Bell is sitting there. You think Le'Veon Bell thinks Kirk Cousins is better than him at football?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that part's interesting. We'll talk about it. And the new book, we're going to take a serious turn here because Adam Schefter has written a serious book. We will talk with him about football and that book next.
Dan Le Batard.
You are the best, and when I say the best, I mean the very worst and most evil.
Stugotz.
The worst.
But this time, it's for real.
Worst.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz on ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Adam Schefter expected to join us here in just a minute on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Here's your SportsCenter update. The American Gaming Association says a fully mature U.S. sports gambling market could be worth $2.3 billion annually to the NFL. Doc Rivers says that it bothers him that his former players, Ray Allen, Rajon Rondo, Paul Pierce, and Kevin Garnett, can't get along. Still a story, man. Jeez. Is Ray Allen going to the Hall of Fame? What's happening? That this is still, Doc Rivers just said this? For what reason? I mean, it's Rondo's fault. All of it. Everything.
Okay, because it's what he thought. He said it because someone asked him, and it's what he thought. Zip it up, Doc Rivers.
Aren't we tired of the story already? I mean, they won championships together. They were the first super team. They were the super team before the Heat created a super team. I mean, they won a championship.
I am tired at how quickly you get tired of stories. I am tired of how what a go-to move it is of yours to say how tired you are of a story.
I mean, focus on the Clippers. Stop worrying about what happened with the Celtics. You want a title there.
You get tired of stories faster than anyone else does.
I need to move on quickly. You're right.
It is one of the, I don't know if it's the signature move in your arsenal, but being tired of a story is always funny with you.
Yeah. The Durant story, I'll never get tired of. No, that much I can tell you.
No, we're tired of you with that dog, that bone that dog has in his mouth.
What?
Adam Schefter is, we're getting him in position. He sprinted to the studio. I can hear him in cue. He is out of breath.
Yes, he is winded. He is making the book tour. He is touring with his book.
Mike, is he working two phones right now? He is working multiple phones right now.
Is there Le'Veon Bell news? We were going to check in. This is very exciting. We're going to check in with Adam Schefter as he checks his phone.
All right. And finally, a Kentucky man was arrested in the cafeteria of Baptist Health Corbin Hospital after he faked a heart attack to get a ride there. When the ambulance arrived at the hospital, he jumped out and casually walked to the cafeteria, grabbed something to eat. While he was enjoying his food, officers from the Knox County Sheriff's Office arrived and took him into custody. He was charged with burglary and falsely reporting an incident. That's a heady play, man.
I am so tired watching 30 seconds of Adam Schefter's life right now. He's just searching his phone, and he's searching his phone for nuggets. He just sprinted in here. Football season's days away, and this is what his life is going to be like until it starts. Just sprinting from place to place, hyperventilating, and waiting for nuggets of information.
Not at home, not a problem. Because now you get pizza delivery to over 150,000 unexpected outdoor locations like parks, beaches, and more with Domino's Hotspots. Visit Domino's.com for details on Domino's Hotspots. For all the latest headlines and information, tune in the SportsCenter on ESPN Radio all throughout the day.
It's crazy right now at ESPN because football's approaching. So Schefter will be running one way, Riddick will be running another, Mort will be running another. They all collide, fall down like bowling pins, and then they get back up and give you news and information.
How did Schefter find time to write a book? Honestly.
I don't know. Well, he's got to be a crazy person. I mean, he has to be. I don't know how he has time. So we're going to talk to him about the book in a second. But Schefter, what's the information on your phone right now? Give us what you got on your phone. Give us nuggets of football nuggets.
Well, Dan, I think the interesting thing is going on right now. Josina Anderson reported a short time ago. Earl Thomas is reporting to the Seahawks today. So that holdout is ending.
Whoa.
And a short time ago, I had said that the Dallas Cowboys recently had increased their offer within the last week for Earl Thomas to a second-round draft pick. The Seahawks said no. And the Seahawks want more in return for Earl Thomas. There's a school of thought here. Follow this. The Seahawks play at Denver this week in their opener. They play at Chicago in week 2. And Seattle's home opener is week 3 at home against Dallas. Do you think that you want to trade Earl Thomas to the team that you're opening up at home against? I guess for the right price you will. But maybe you want to wait till Monday after week 3 and then trade Earl Thomas to the Dallas Cowboys at that point in time.
But am I right in understanding, Adam, that the Dallas Cowboys have bowed out?
I don't know if they've bowed out. Look, people can say they've bowed out. Maybe they bowed out today. Does that mean that they bowed out next week or the week after or when they suffer another safety injury? I would not put too much credence or stock into that right now, Stugotz. We'll see how it all unfolds going forward.
Guillermo, can you look up for me the origins of the phrase bowing out? Like, why are we bowing while making our way out? Do we know? Does anyone know why we're saying that way?
Don't you bow at the end of a play or some sort of performance and you're on the way out?
Is that what bowing out is?
That's my best guess.
Schefter, you got a guess?
Bowing out means you bow and then you're out.
I know what it means, but where does it come from? Does it come from the theater?
Where does jumbo shrimp come from, Dan? I don't know.
Very fair question, man.
In the sea.
Yes.
Anyway, so Adam Schefter with us on ESPN Radio. We'll talk about his book in a second. What is the most likely scenario for Le'Veon Bell?
Look, if he's not there today, why would he be there at all in week 1? And throughout the course of the spring, I've always maintained that this is a business decision for Le'Veon Bell, that he has to do what's best for him to get himself into March and into free agency to be healthy. The longer he stays away, I don't care about missing out on $855,000 a week when you're talking about a $60, $70 million contract that awaits you. The more he does to preserve his health, to prevent the number of touches that he would get, to prevent the wear and tear that inevitably would occur if he were on the Steelers roster. So last year, if you just look at history, he was there Monday and played 6 days later in the opener. This year, he wasn't there Monday. He's not there Tuesday. He's not there today. Why would you think he's coming in this week? I don't think he is. I'd be surprised if we see Le'Veon Bell play in week 1. And I think it becomes a week-to-week decision with him, analyzing when he feels ready to go in and rejoin his teammates. But he's been a franchise player the last 2 years with the franchise tag. The two sides have been unable to get that deal done. I think more and more in the NFL, we've seen the franchise tag be a divisive force between player and team. Players don't like it. And yes, the teams can use it, but they've used it as a weapon in many cases. And in this particular case, it hasn't helped the situation, and I don't think we see Le'Veon Bell in week 1.
Can you give us your opinion, not what you've reported, but can you give us your opinion on everything that happened with the Raiders and Mac?
You want my opinion?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's unfortunate that it came to that. That when you've got a player like that, that somehow you have to figure out a way to get it done. And my opinion is that John Gruden didn't like Khalil Mack enough to pay him that money, that the other teams were willing to pay him. He saw more value in the draft picks. And so he ultimately made a decision that he himself said he's going to be second guessed for from now until the cows come home. Whenever the cows come home. That could be the time
when are the cows
that bow out of the jumbo shrimp or
When are the cows coming home? When are they coming home?
Jumbo shrimp come home, yeah.
All right, very good. Let's talk about his book with him. Again, Adam Schefter. He's got a new memoir. It's The Man I Never Met. It's available now. You can also listen to the Adam Schefter podcast with new episodes weekly on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts. It feels to me when I read some of the details of this story, Adam, that this is a bit of a love story. It's not just a memoir, that this is about your wife, this is about your family, this is about a man you never met.
Well, it's about all those things, Dan. I think ultimately it's a tribute to my wife's late husband, Joe Mayo, who lost his life on 9/11. It's a tribute to my wife for the strength and determination that she showed to get through that while she was raising her then 15-month-old son, Devin. I think it's designed to pay tribute to them. It's also obviously a story about grief, but it's about hope. And it's heartbreaking, it's heartwarming. And yes, there is a love story in there. There's a lot in there. And it stemmed from a piece that we ran on ESPN on the opening day of the 2016 NFL season on the 15th anniversary of 9/11. And that piece that ran, and if you haven't seen it, I'd invite you to go Google it. That piece that ran generated more reaction than anything I've ever done in 28 years in the business. And so this book is the 200-page version, much more personal, much more detailed, of the 6-minute piece that ran on the 15th anniversary of 9/11.
Was it difficult to get through for you, Adam? Was it difficult for you to get through this book? It had to be, right?
It was hard in many ways. It was challenging to put a book like that together. Dan's always been a great writer. He knows that there are certain pieces that you write that are more complex and more delicate and more sensitive than others. And there can be nothing that is more delicate and sensitive than putting together a memoir about your wife's late husband and the life that she led and how she tried to get on, and talking about Joe's parents, Paula and George Mayo, and how they tried to pick up the pieces. And look, again, there are 3,000 stories from that day, more, about how it impacted everybody. And we're no different. Their story is certainly unique. It's heartbreaking, but there are a lot of them from that day. This story just happens to be ours.
Where does this rank in terms of fulfilling work that you've done? Just in having completed it and being proud of what it is that you've completed.
Well, Dan, there's nothing that I've ever written I was in the newspaper business for 16 years. I've written 4 other books besides this. There's nothing that I've ever been a part of from a writing standpoint that I feel like I've ever been more proud of, if that means anything. The fulfillment comes, in all honesty, I hope a lot of people read it. I hope a lot of people are inspired and touched and moved by it. But the truth of the matter is, all that mattered to me was how Paula and George Mayo viewed the book about their son, and how Shari viewed the book about her husband, and how our son viewed the book. Now, 3 of the 4 have read it. Devin's a freshman at college, and he's too busy getting settled in and taking classes to read the book just yet. Hopefully he will, and I'm sure in time he'll learn plenty about his father. But again, Joe's parents loved the book. Shari loved the book, and the fact that they did, honestly, is more fulfilling than anything that anybody else could say to me.
That's very cool. The Man I Never Met. You should check it out. Now that we've gotten out of that out of the way, though, and that's the serious stuff, just Stugotz has a bone to pick with you. Stugotz is a bit enraged because he was asking me the other day how he sends you a tip, and then he sent you a tip, and soon thereafter, you reported the tip as fact, and he wanted a hat tip, he wanted credit, and you gave him no credit.
All I wanted on Twitter was, hockey assist from @Stugotz790, something like that. Like, I feel like I made a little contribution to that. I actually called you during the radio show.
Right, he called
to give you some information.
Can we reveal what that information was? Are we allowed to reveal?
Well, yeah. Do you want the full backstory? Listen. I mean this. When somebody from work calls me with tips, I'm never too proud to take information from anybody. I feel like I would like to be information wasteland. If anybody has any tips and they want to call me, I welcome all tips. Stugotz was one of 2 ESPN employees to call me on Thursday morning, I believe it was, right? Stugotz, was it the actual Friday? Thursday, the day before,
It was right when the Aaron Donald stuff happened.
It was the day of. I'm sorry, Adam. It was the day of.
Right. Okay, so, again, Look, listen, he thought of calling me. I'll just say this. I appreciate it. Stugotz, let me give you a big assist now for calling me and letting me know that you were being told that Aaron Donald was signing, and I appreciate that. Assist to you. Tremendous job on your part,
Thank
Stugotz.
you. Would have appreciated it more that day and on Twitter, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
However you're delivering it. Thank you, and congratulations on the book, Adam. We always appreciate you stopping by and giving us time. It's a book worth reading. It's a story worth telling. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
You can listen to the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz 10 to 1 Eastern on ESPN Radio, and you can watch on ESPN